In the Know, a radio program talking to the newsmakers in Ogle, Lee, DeKalb counties and beyond, keeping you in the know. Here's your host, Charles Van Horn.
Good morning. Joining us in studio, Rochelle Police Chief Pete Pavia. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
Good. Happy to be here.
It's going to be a fun time. Of course, St. Patrick's is today, so St. Patrick's Day today. So wishing everybody a happy St. Patrick's Day.
Absolutely. I forgot to wear green.
Yeah, and there's no green in the... Well, there's a little bit on the patch, I suppose.
I guess a little bit, yeah.
So we're going to be chit-chatting this morning about a bunch of things to do with law enforcement in and around Rochelle. But first, a little bit about you, sir. You grew up, you said Melrose Park, right?
Melrose Park, that's correct.
And what got you interested in going into law enforcement?
You know, I knew in 8th grade I wanted to be a police officer, and I don't even know what it was. I had a lot of family was in law enforcement, and my cousin stopped by one time. He was on the job, and we were talking, and I was like, you know what, I want to do that. And I never veered off. That was in 8th grade, and I said forever. You know, a lot of kids go, I want to be this, that. No, I want to be a police officer, and that's what I did.
What other departments, or what department did you start with first off?
The very first department I started with was the Berkeley Police Department.
Okay.
Yeah, that's out in Cook County there, not far from Melrose Park.
And then you moved around to a couple of places?
Yep, I jumped. I spent 17 and a half years with the Elburn Police Department, and then I came here.
Yeah.
So I started
Elburn to Rochelle, not too big of a transition.
No, not too bad. I mean, a little bit, obviously Rochelle's a little bit bigger, a lot more calls.
Yeah.
But no, there was no, it wasn't a hard transition. This job is the job. I mean, it's from small towns to big towns. It's the same calls we're dealing with.
Yeah.
I mean, you handle them exactly the same way, so it really doesn't matter.
Being in Rochelle, you've been here sometime. You've been top spot here for about, 6 years now?
Well, I started in Rochelle 6 years ago. I've only been the chief now a year. Actually, a year. Last week was a year.
Wow. Yep. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Made it through the first year.
And that's good.
Yep.
And you still have the badge. So kudos to you.
Yes, thank you.
How do you like Rochelle as a community? And I know that's sort of like a broad question, but what are like your favorite parts of the community?
All the events we go to, it's just there's a lot of community involvement, and all of the organizations in town are just so supportive of us. And I've never had, and this is going to sound like I'm sucking up, but I'm not. It's an actual statement. A city council, a city manager, and a mayor who are so supportive of law enforcement and fire. I mean, they're just so supportive. They bend over backwards for us, and we can't be more grateful from that. And I've dealt with city managers for the last 27 years and city councils for the last 27. I've never seen one like here, how they're all on the same page with it. And it's just, we're very blessed.
It's nice to have the tools to succeed.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Speaking of how to succeed, residents in town obviously rely on law enforcement for a lot of different needs and services. And sometimes things are sort of above and beyond what you guys can do at that moment. What are some things residents can do to make your life easier in a way to reduce calls for some sort of smaller or petty things?
Well, I mean, it's, obviously we work together. We can't do our job without the citizens here. We're here to serve them. That's our job. We don't mind getting calls. We truly don't. I mean, that's what keeps us going, So I just think the biggest thing is that don't be afraid to call us. What I mean? People think like we get aggravated for, the loose dog or something. We don't. That's what we are paid for. So call us. That's the biggest thing. And if you see something, it doesn't look right, call. You know what I mean? So just recently we had someone call, and there was just someone wandering down Route 38, and they're like, that guy doesn't look right. I mean, something looks off. And we responded there, and he was having an episode. What I mean? So it was great. Without that call, who knows what happens? You know what I mean? So that's the kind of stuff. Just don't be afraid to call. And here's my biggest thing. People worry about the 911.
Yeah.
When should I call 911? You will never be in trouble for calling 911. You know what I mean? Sometimes we've had instances where it is an emergency call, but people are scared to call 911. They will take extra time and look for the non-emergency number instead of just calling. So just call 911.
Well, I mean, I think you can get in trouble for calling 911. So if I complain about a pizza being late, you're probably going to be unhappy.
You're not going to be in trouble for it. We're probably going to say, hey, this probably isn't the time to call 911. But you're still not going to get in trouble for calling 911. It's the fastest way to get to us.
Rochelle is a slightly a bigger city. Like there's parts of Rochelle that are like a larger city. You have multi-unit dwellings. You have people who use sidewalks as their primary mode of transportation. You have some of those city issues, and then you also have the rural issues. Plus, with neighboring communities and the county, you guys find yourself helping out a lot of times outside the jurisdiction.
Sure.
You'll find yourself on the tollway and other places when the need arises. How much of a burden is that on the Rochelle Police Department to cover those rural areas, or is it just, or does it just work out?
Yeah, it just works out. We have no issue with helping anybody out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the job. You are correct. We are a city. Rochelle is not a village or a town. It's an actual city. I've heard, many times, Rochelle's just small. Technically, we're not. Nationwide, if you take the nationwide statistic, the average police department nationwide is 10 officers. Okay, we're sitting at 24. We're a lot larger, but people just think like Rochelle's small. Well, you're comparing us to Rockford or Chicago, but if you're comparing us to neighboring, no, we're right there. We're comparable with everybody else. So we're not small, we're not huge, but we're right where we're supposed to be. So, but no, we have, ever since I've taken over the department, we've added a lot more staff. We're going to continue to hire officers. We want to get that number up yet, so we're at a good place right now where it doesn't put a burden on us to go assist the state or assist the county or whoever needs it. We're there to help.
And that brings me to my next question is about staffing. It is difficult to train and retain officers. Every community is fighting for one or two individuals to step up and join their department. How has the difficulty in hiring been for you guys? And have you seen officers leave for greener pastures or officers coming to you to enjoy Rochelle?
I'm very blessed, and nobody has left. We've had a couple of retirements, which that's just the nature of this game. We have a retirement coming up next year. But no, I mean, I think we've put a lot of things in place to make us, a draw. We haven't seen too many officers jumping ship right now, and I think that's more just because of the area. You know what I mean? If you go out east near the city, they're jumping like crazy because everyone's offering sign-on bonuses. They're trying to do everything. It's kind of cutthroat out there. I was in a chiefs of police training class just recently, and there was a chief saying that at his test there was another agency in the parking lot handing out cards saying, "Hey, we pay more." When the cadets showed up, it was just like, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is really going on. You know what I mean? But you are correct. I mean, I'm going back now to when I was testing. And now we're talking 95, 96. But every test I tested for like Cicero. I remember I tested for Cicero. There was 500 people taking that test for a couple openings. The last time we gave a test, I think we had 16 applicants. It's just changed. It's just and I don't know what the answer is. None of us know what the answer is because we're all facing the same thing. So we're getting ready to test again. So we're going to be testing again here in April, and this is the first time we're doing a online test. And the reason we're doing that is when I'm talking with the testing agency, they're saying that certain agencies are trying this and they're seeing they're getting more applicants, and applicants from other states are applying because they're able to not just show up on a specific day to take the test. So we're going to see how it goes. I'm open to it, and obviously you have to change, and so we'll see how this goes.
What's the age window to apply to become a police officer?
Well, 20 and a half, you have to be 21 by the time you get sworn in. So, I mean, depending on, so I would say like this upcoming test is going to be pretty quick because we're testing in April, and there's an academy slated to start in August. So I'm planning on sending somebody to that academy. So you'd have to meet that window. You know what I mean? 21 by the time you get sworn in. So.
Okay. And would myself be eligible to try to do that?
How old are you?
I'm over 21 and a half.
Are you over 35 and a half?
Unfortunately, yes.
Then no, you can't.
Oh, man. I really wanted to go
You look
out.
good in uniform.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I did dress up for the occasion today. I just wanted to pull people over for speeding. Which, speaking of, I do want to talk about speeding. I keep an eye on, obviously, the tickets and the citations that are written in this community. And I have seen some real whoppers in the last month or so of individuals like pushing the 80s within the city limits.
Sure.
What's the highest speed limit, obviously, in like a ticket situation that you guys have probably seen?
I have no idea what that exact number is. I don't even have a guess. I mean, the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
You know
Some of those are in like the 80s. And again, the time of day some of these are occurring, like you'd expect the 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning when you think that the people who are driving just assume there's nobody around and they just keep going.
Yeah.
Some of these are like during the day when people are present.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that and people have been noticing more is the squads are present more in the neighborhoods. And so what we've done recently is now that we're getting more staff in there is we've split the town up into quadrants. So now there's, instead of, just 2 or 3 officers trying to, patrol the whole town, now we have 4 or 5 officers on, and we have broken them up so they're in separate quadrants all the time. So we've had many people, and I'm sure people listening right now are going, I have. They're seeing the cars in the neighborhoods more, and there's a reason for that. So but now what's happening is these officers are getting on those roads where they're not usually there, what I mean? And they're getting these speeders, and people are saying like, oh man, I never expected a squad there. Well, guess what? Now they are there. So,
and again, these aren't just like little tickets. These aren't people doing 4 over. I mean, these are some serious speeding violations.
Yes.
And the numbers, again, sometimes I just roll my eyes.
Sure, absolutely.
And I look at the road they're on, and I'm like, dude, what do you think you're doing?
And it's even funnier because then they get mad when they get a ticket, and we're like, listen, you weren't going 5 over, you were going 35 over, and you're like, why can't I just get a warning? Well, what do you think? And, and I mean, the roads around town are mostly good, but some of those have potholes. I wouldn't go over the speed limit on those roads. Rochelle Police Chief Pete Pavia hanging out in studio talking this morning. You guys do a lot of engagement with the community, and you talked about how you enjoy going to the public events and everything. Absolutely.
What's your favorite event to attend with your department? You guys walk around and high five the kids. What's your favorite thing?
Hands down, National Night Out. I mean, that's the first Tuesday in August, and I can take credit for where our National Night Out is, because when I came here 6 years ago, I was in charge of the National Night Out at my old department, and they did a little National Night Out here, but nothing to the extent of how we do it now. And it's a massive event. It grows every year, and the numbers are really big, and we love that event because we're out there. People see us. They talk with us. They just see us as normal people, not law enforcement. That's by far my favorite event.
Yeah, it's good to reach out, and again, the children and everything else.
Absolutely.
And, going back to kids, let's talk about schools resource officer program.
Yeah, so obviously I came out of the school. I was the high school resource officer. So we have a high school resource officer in there now, and we have one in the middle school who handles the middle school and the elementary schools. There's a lot of talk on we'd like to get them in other schools, and this is nationwide. That's a hot topic of police officers in every school. I would love to say that's doable, but unfortunately, there's just not the supply of applicants out there. You know what I mean? And a lot of officers, it takes a special person to be a school resource officer, because a lot of people don't want to do it. You know what I mean? It's like, I got into law enforcement, just as a general statement, I got into law enforcement to work the street and drive a squad, and I don't want to be in a school. You know what I mean? So it takes a special person to want to be in the school.
And if you've ever walked down a junior high hallway, it takes a special nose too.
Nose, yes, absolutely.
Sometimes those kids, after PE class.
But it truly makes a difference. It's the different when you start in the elementary school and you're walking through how the kids look at you in the elementary school, that superhero status. You know what I mean? Then as you get to the middle school, it changes the looks we're getting. Then the high school is with the whole different looks that you're getting. You know what I mean? So thick skin, and but it just takes someone who wants to work with kids.
I do like seeing resource officers, and I've seen this in many places, where they engage in student activities.
Absolutely.
And they're at assemblies, and they're at pep rallies, they're at the sporting events, and they get involved doing the silly things with the students.
Correct.
And it is great for community engagement.
Agreed. And it's the cliche, it's normalizing the badge. I mean, hey, we're just like everybody else.
Looking forward for the department, you guys have about 24 officers right now, looking to add more to obviously make up for retirements and things. Where do you see this department in like a decade or so? What do you guys want to expand to do? What would you like to either reach out and do more for the community with, or is there infrastructure needs, or is there equipment needs? where do you see the department?
Going back on the support we receive from council is, as far as equipment wise, I mean, we are top of the line. We have new cars, new computers, new camera systems. Everything is top of the line for us. So, obviously I want the department to grow. I'd like to get to a certain number of officers. The city is very smart with how they grow. Rochelle will continue to grow. And, I was just in a meeting recently and they're going to grab a piece of land because that may not develop for 20 years from now, but they're smart the way they do things. You know what I mean? So, really, the sky's the limit for this police department. We've put a lot of things in place. The CSO program has been a huge success. I started that when I took over here. We're kind of mentoring these CSOs, and we're hoping that they want to stay with us. And when they become of age, they take the test, and they'll roll right into this, and we'll get a new CSO. And it's kind of like our secret pool. They're there for the future. So.
All right, last question, Chief. This is the toughest one.
All right.
Favorite type of donut?
Oh, that's a horrible question.
Glazed? You talking like a powdered or a chocolate?
I gotta go with a jelly, just a standard jelly donut. Yeah,
raspberry or
I don't have a preference. Yeah, no. Yeah.
All right, Chief Pavia, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
My pleasure.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Same to you.
Thank you for listening to this week's In the Know. The program returns next week at this time with another great conversation with someone from your community.